Welcome back, guys. As you know, my name's Charlie Black. This is another episode of Operation Wolf, my war on my lovely fat. It's the acronym. Um, where do I start? There's lots of information that I'm going to talk to you guys about today, and I truly do apologize. It seems like the last couple of videos that I've done, it's always just like sporadic. It's never consistent. I guess that's why I don't have a large viewership. Um, Please keep in mind, I'm just like you. I'm not a medical professional unless you're a medical professional. I'm just sharing insight on my own personal experience in hopes that maybe you guys can learn or gain information if you're going through this journey, or if you want to support somebody kind of going through the weight loss journey. Um, yeah, so I mean, 2020, right? Where do I begin? So, um, a lot of the videos that you see online, I don't see too many Canadians or people saying that they're Canadians and stuff. So, I mean, I'm a proud Canadian. But this pandemic, COVID, has really affected everybody, and affected us in terms of weight loss surgery and such. So I just wanted to kind of talk to you and tell you about my experience throughout the year. So I'm located in Ontario. So in Ontario, we have a fantastic healthcare system. It's OHIP based. If you sign up for something and your medical professional feels that you need it, over the period of time, so long as you're willing to wait and you do the work, a lot of these things are covered by the government. But I mean, you can't really put a price on your love, on your health. Sorry, it's late here, so if I'm slurring or if my sugar's low or if I say something weird, I will try to correct myself. I like to do these in one shot, not so much as edit them. So here we go. Yeah, so I mean, we have a fantastic healthcare system, but I mean, how are we affected, or how was I affected during this, right? So essentially, this episode is COVID versus weight loss surgery. Um, yeah, so in terms of my journey and stuff like that, I was losing the battle. Um, Let me kind of circle back. So with OHIP, they'll only cover you in one program or another program, and then if a program fails, then they have no issues putting you in another program. This is something that they recently did, obviously, so they're not squandering taxpayers' money, et cetera, et cetera. Even though we're all taxpayers, I'm a taxpayer. If you're working, and by sharing that with you, originally before the whole weight loss surgery, even though I had signed up for it and I was on a wait list, I was participating in the Wharton weight loss medical clinic, where they kind of coach you and you go counseling once every 2 weeks, and they see what kind of progress you're making, and you explain to them what kind of meal plan you're on. Essentially, they're trying to shift you from buying all the takeout and garbage to, meal prep and exercise and activity and counting calories, et cetera, and good carbs and bad carbs, and nothing too technical like macros or anything like that, because I don't understand that shit or care to understand it. I just want to know that I'm putting good stuff in and getting good results out, et cetera, et cetera. But when they found out that they were proceeding with my surgery, they had to eject me from the program. Not because that I wasn't participating well or making progress. They were just kind of like, they're not covered by the government if I'm in another program. So they took me as far as they could possibly take me, post COVID, prior to COVID, pre COVID, I guess. And then they said, okay, you know what? You have your surgery coming up, blah, 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 blah. And everything was peachy. So originally, my original surgery date was for May 19th, 2020. And obviously, um, due to the pandemic and everything that was happening, hospitals had decided in March that if you have a non-elective surgery, which means like pretty much anything cosmetic or anything that's not life or death, there should be no reason for you to be anywhere near the hospital because we're trying to deal with this pandemic and zombie apocalypse, and we don't want to cross contaminate or put you at a risk of you either bringing COVID into the hospital or taking COVID out of the hospital, which is fair. So, with that information, I was informed essentially that my surgery was canceled. I don't know how many people online or watching this video was devastated by this information because you plan your life around these things. You know what I mean? If everybody has different pathways. I don't know if you have a spouse or a partner that's supporting you during these times, if you had to quit your job, or if you had planned vacation utilized. But a lot of the times, in terms of your recovery, and who knows, everyone's different. How long the recovery is, how much time are you going to need off? I'm not personally an essential worker, but I'm essential in my workplace, so I was blessed in the sense that I was able to continue working. But not having access to an actual date kind of leaves me in purgatory because, you know, at my age and stuff like that, I'm committed to my employer and have a responsibility to my employer. And if I need time off, which I'm entitled to for medical reasons, they need to know or have a roundabout idea of when that's going to be. So when I got the call in March saying that my May surgery was canceled, I was kind of devastated. Life goes on. And keep in mind, circling back to, I was withdrawn from the Wharton Medical Clinic, but not that they were going to do any kind of face-to-face counseling. I don't know if they've updated their program in regards to COVID or masks. Obviously, between March and May, because we're doing a fantastic job as Canadians in flattening our curve, our government decided to proceed into phase one, and phase two in terms of, health measures. So, where do I take that? So now it's July 2020, and I get the call. July 15th, I get the call, and they pretty much say to me, and anybody who's going through this process knows that you got to do a liquid diet to shrink your liver 2 weeks prior or 2 weeks before. So it can't be last minute like, hey, okay, hospitals are open, come on in for your surgery. There still has to be some kind of structure, whatever the case may be. And now they've kind of bottlenecked in terms of canceling all these appointments from March up until July. So now July, I think we're approximately stage 3 in Ontario. I don't know the exact dates, but that's where we're at. And elective surgeries are something that can happen again, blah, 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 blah. Actually, let me backtrack a little bit. And because the information's coming to me as I'm sharing with you. My surgery was May 19th, or my original surgery date was May 19th. And hospitals reopened on May 18th, but because they closed, they bottlenecked and backtracked people ahead of me in the queue in terms of surgeries and stuff like that. Obviously had to have this process done if they still wish to proceed with it, or that was something that they were able to do in terms of adjusting their life and their timeline. So I was patient. I'm lucky. My employer is very, very flexible. I work in hospitality, so it's just kind of like, so long as I do the hours, that's a separate issue. Everything kind of works out okay so long as my health is number one. So fast forward now, I get the phone call July 15th that my surgery is going to be August the 8th. So I ask her, I say, I'm sitting on the Slim Time because they no longer use OptiFast, and we'll talk about that. And I need to do 3 weeks of Slim Time prior to my surgery, or that was the original instructions. And meeting with the anesthesiologist, that's no longer an option. Like, if they don't feel a need for you to come into the hospital, you're not. So all of my phone calls now and my pre-op appointments were all done over the phone and not in person, which is convenient because, living approximately 50 kilometers or 25 miles, depending on where you are from the hospital, you still got to travel, and then there's gas and time and blah, blah, parking because the hospital's in the city. UHN is fantastic. University Health Networks, that's where my procedure was taken care of, blah, 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 blah. So, where do I go from there? So they were like, okay, 3 weeks. 3 weeks from the 15th means that you have to start your liquid diet on the 18th. So you pretty much have 48 hours to have your last supper. Look at my mentality and my thought process. 48 hours to have my last supper, right? I don't know if it was because I was no longer participating in the Wharton Medical Clinic or because of COVID. You know what I mean? I'm emotionally eating, whatever the case might be. I was just kind of like, before I go on a liquid diet, I need to have a last supper. I'm a homebody, so I love homey meals like meatloaf and blah 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 blah. But the options could have just gone beyond. I mean, we've gotten we've gotten ourselves, if you're a plus size model like myself, in this situation because we're foodies. And it's just kind of like, okay, what's that last meal? What's that last meal I want to have? And I was like, okay, meatloaf. But then I ended up having seafood. But again, we'll continue on that topic. So I started my Slim Time tea on the 18th of July, which is exactly 3 weeks. And they're like, you can't have any Slim Time tea up until um, 24 hours before the surgery, blah, 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 blah. So Slim Time was going absolutely well. And I don't know if this is going to change. There is no information on Slim Time tea. I don't know if it's because it's a new product or whatever the case may be, but I've taken apart the internet. I was on the dark web. I was looking for all kinds of information. I found information on OptiFash. And the reason why I was looking for information is because those little things that you take for granted, and maybe, like I said, I'm just speaking to my own personal experience, was starting to affect me. When you're drinking liquids, it wasn't that I was hungry. It's like when a smoker says if you smoke, it's not so much as the nicotine, but it's the missing the action. And you're just like, I'm not a smoker, but you're kind of like, that makes no sense. Like, what's the action have to do with it? When you're a foodie, it's the crunching. I just kind of felt like, okay, you know what? I spent all this money on dental care and blah, 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 and seeing a periodontist and a dentist. And it's just kind of like my cleaning game was irrelevant because it was just kind of like I didn't have to floss at night anymore or anything like that because I wasn't physically crunching food. And I missed crunching food. That's what got into my head. So I was just kind of like, okay, what can I have without compromising my surgery? The last thing I want to do is, after they've put me on hold for 3 months, to have this surgery is fuck up and not shrink my liver. But at the same time, too, as a food addict, I'm like, I need to crunch something. How can I cheat, or how can I bend the rules without kind of breaking them? So that's what kind of sent me down this rabbit hole of going down the web. And I found all kinds of stuff on OptiFast, but OptiFast is not the choice of shakes that this place wants to use, right? Because with OptiFast, they're like, okay, if at the end of the day you have a crunching need, you can have like vegetables like either carrots or celery, whatever the case may be, at the end of the night to assist. But with the Slim Time, it's just Slim Time. There's no alternatives, nothing. So I ended up cheating. I'm not gonna lie. And you don't even see people online discussing the cheating or their failures in terms of what they happened. I cheated 3 times. I had street meat, I was craving a grilled cheese, and then I was craving chili. Odd things. It's like, it's not things that I would have on a daily basis or on a regular thing, but it was just kind of like, I want street meat. And I like drove to like, 2 Canadian Tires. That's like our Home Hardware, whatever the case may be. That's where you can get street meat unless you're in the core, whatever the case might be. To get those things, and I was still like, and I felt guilty as fuck, but I was happy having those things. So August 8 rolls around, and it's showtime. So here's some other things too that I was dealing with during those times, right? And I love social media, and that's what we're on, using this platform, social media and such. The light flickering is just the work computer kind of going to sleep as I chat to you, because I'm not really paying attention to work right now. It's quiet because I want to pay attention to you, my fans, and kind of give you some information, or people who are curious. like the Instagram and the Facebook algorithms are brilliant. And obviously, due to COVID and stuff like that, it's not like you could go to restaurants and be social or grab takeout. So now, in between, like, okay, friend's birthday or, friend, being at home or whatever the case may be, I'm getting blitzed with all kinds of like Uber Eats stuff. There's a place in Mississauga, which is not like the next town or city beside me. I know I don't. I know geography doesn't matter in this kind of conversation. Where there was a place like Gladiator Burger, and like the photographs, it was literally food porn. And then there was like a wolf smoked meat sandwich place, and I was like, fuck, I haven't had smoked meat since I've been to Montreal. Like now I'm craving smoked meat, and it's like that social factor is just kind of like just kind of missing food. Just seeing those things in social media just kind of adding to your liquid diet, but you're like, okay, I gotta be hard, I gotta be disciplined, I gotta put these things aside, these cravings aside, in order to focus on my health and my future. So I didn't have those things, but social media is a bitch. And excuse my French if you're there watching with your kids or whatever the case might be. Um, Obviously, these businesses obviously have to stay alive and market somewhere or another, and it's like now you don't even have to go to it. It can just come to you through Uber Eats or Skip the Dish or Food Dash or whatever the portal is or whatever you choose to use. So it's August 8th now. I'm okay. So 3 weeks, 3 days. I would say I'm like 90% successful in terms of the thing. I kind of go in there, and that's the other thing too. In terms of when I say go in there, going into the hospital, they're really treating it like a zombie apocalypse, and they should, right? I mean, this COVID thing is serious, and everyone, I mean, social media is great again because you see different people's opinions. Some people think it's a gimmick. That's not me. I think this is a real thing. I think it's a real virus. Watching a 5-minute video on YouTube, and I know I'm kind of sidebarring or not, doesn't make me a medical professional or understand, autoimmune disease or things like that, or respiratory disease or COPD and how that can affect you long term. So I'm not going to watch a 5-minute video on YouTube and think that I'm a specialist or I don't need to have a mask or masks are not important. But how does that affect you when you're having surgery in the hospital, right? And visitors and stuff. I mean, loved ones obviously want to be there and they want to support you, but the hospitals want you to minimize. They were like, if you need a support person or someone to be there, it has to be one person to come in and support you and obviously go through the protocols. And the facility that I was at, they were very, very thorough. They were like, prior to your surgery, you need to come in, you need to do a bacteria test on your skin, because I guess that's common if you have a lot of surgeries, even though surgeries aren't happening. They're going to do a COVID test where they put a Q-tip. It's very intrusive, by the way, if you ever had one, up your nostril. Total recall. I'm showing my age, right? And then they flick your nose. Literally brought tears to my eyes. And if you have COVID, cancel your surgery. So it's just kind of like, okay, again, during those 3 weeks, it's like we're in stage 3 and it's okay to see people again and blah 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 blah, and businesses are opening up, but I'm like, I'm not chancing it. I'm not trying to get COVID a couple days prior to my surgery, because who knows what's going to happen. And lo and behold, I didn't have COVID. I didn't have any kind of skin bacteria, obviously, or anything like that. Everything else was all clear. Blood work was all clear. The anesthesiologist talked to me over the phone, talked to you about the basic things in terms of like your veins and your health, any kind of pre-existing issues, the routine stuff. And August 8th essentially was showtime. So I didn't have any visitors. Girl I was saying, she was like dying to come. She actually thought that I was lying to her when I said that the hospital doesn't want, I told her, I said the hospital doesn't want anybody there. They didn't want, I could have one person, but essentially they didn't want anybody there. I was like, no, I'm going to go into this thing by myself. I'm going to take a taxi home, or you can come and pick me up via Uber. but I'm going in alone and I'm coming out of this thing alone. Major, major surgery. So again, in terms of backwards information on me or some back history on me, the only other major surgery that I've had in my life, knock on wood, was wisdom teeth. And that's a funny thing, because with the wisdom teeth, you get the disclaimer 5 minutes before surgery. So with them, they were like, okay, if we get a nerve in your mouth or a vein in your mouth, you can bleed out, die, or be paralyzed. Why are you telling me that 5 minutes before surgery? Which I found amusing. Obviously, they pulled my wisdom teeth, everything was okay. But that's not the topic. The reason why I brought that up was because going into my surgery with my team, the anesthesiologist was like, okay, we're going to put you through a local anesthetic, which means they're going to put you to sleep. When they put you to sleep, they have to put a respirator in you so that it assists you breathe during your breathing and stuff where you can wake up. But if they're putting the breathing apparatus into your mouth and they have a difficult time, or if you got a small mouth, right? They don't care if they chip your teeth, because at the end of the day, right, the goal is to get the breathing device, the respirator, into you. So they're like, if you wake up and your front teeth are chipped or are missing, that's just part of the journey. And these guys were fantastic. They put the respirator in, blah, 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 blah. No problem, no chipped teeth. So I did the surgery, showed up. The protocols at the hospital, I guess every hospital is different. I don't know if you're going to do your surgery after COVID or during COVID, but I figure I'd share this information. It's an emerge, but obviously because they don't want anybody else accessing the hospital, or there isn't as much security at night. They have you go in through one entrance, and then there's a security guard at the entrance. You pretty much have to have a reservation, which I had for the surgery. And if you're not on the list for the reservation, you're not gaining access unless, you're missing some kind of appendage, or they have to do major surgery. But you can't just be a civilian and walk in off the street and just say, hey, it's a hospital, it's a public area, whatever the case may be. Like I said, they're very, very thorough. So in terms of information, in terms of the way things work, or what I had figured out afterwards, is the surgeons pretty much work throughout the week. So they're doing surgeries, and they rotate these doctors, right? 4 surgeries, Monday, Wednesday, Friday was my understanding. And to assist with the bottleneck, they pretty much compromised their time off and said, okay, instead of pushing everything back and continuing to work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we'll do the additional day, which is the Saturday. So August 8th was the Saturday that I did my surgery, and they did the surgeries, and they were like, until we're caught up, we'll work the extra day, which is absolutely fantastic. Don't worry about pay. I don't know what the arrangement is, blah, 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 blah. But I mean, these people are at a stage in their life or death, in terms of the weight, their pre-existing issues, where we need to assist them. And I was like, kudos to you guys for giving up your Saturday to do this. The other fantastic thing about going to do a surgery on Saturday is, prior to COVID, I mean, if you've ever been to a hospital, if you ever visited anybody at a hospital, hospital parking is atrocious. It's like, 2 minutes is, $17, and then like a day is like rent money. So it's the best thing for you to do is either commute or take an Uber or blah, 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 blah. Doing the surgery on a Saturday, right? Because I guess it's a non-business day, even though people die every day of the year, or people are born every day of the year. They had a flat rate. So where I was at, it was like $10 a day for Saturday, Sunday parking. So it was perfect. So I told them somebody was picking me up. The girlfriend doesn't drive. And then I was like, okay, what's more cost effective? Me paying for parking and just kind of waiting for these opioids to wear off and chance it and drive home, or do I take an Uber there? So I paid $20 for 2 days parking. I mean, I was clear headed. I should end up and part of the conversation, and parked at the hospital. So the first, to park at the hospital for more than 30 hours and pay $20 for parking is almost like the same as, I think, winning a small lottery or bingo. Um, so if your surgery is on a Saturday, um, yeah, unless like and you're on your own or you're very independent, that's just something to take into consideration. Uh, the meal plan. So what can I talk about the meal plan? So they did the surgery. Um, it's funny when like the anesthesiologist, they come in, they sit you up. So apparently there's two ways of doing the surgery. So they either hang you like a bat upside down, and then they fill you up like a balloon. So their cameras and their liposcopic machines can go in you and see you and move around freely without poking anything. So they fill you up with gas, blah 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 blah. But obviously through medical breakthroughs and stuff like that, they sit you up. Being a big guy, um, I don't know. I'm not comfortable being on my back. Even when I sleep in a cradle position on my side and stuff like that. Or if I'm on my back, I don't like being on my back for long periods of time. But at least they didn't hang me upside down. So I kind of sat up and hang me upside down. It's kind of funny, right? Because the anesthesiologist is like, they're looking for veins in your hands, which is odd to me. Because I'm not an addict. I'm not a real fan of needles, but I can tolerate needles. I don't know if you come from where I come from in terms of that kind of situation. So he was like, "Oh, you've got shitty veins." It's like, okay. So he finds a vein in my hand. Blah 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 blah. They set me up for the surgery and stuff, and then they told me that they were kind of putting me down, and then that was it. It was nap time. Um, I was out the entire time. Thank God I didn't wake up during the surgery. And then when they woke up, they were like, successful surgery, we're all done, blah, 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 blah. They want you to kind of move around so your body can metabolize the gas, right? Because the gas, that bloated feeling in your stomach is very, very uncomfortable. I'll tell you that right now. And because they put the breathing tube in, um, I guess your glands, again, I'm not a medical professional or anything, um, start to salivate or salivate too much or there's suction, but it completely dehydrates you. So when they pull that thing out, all you want is water, but they can't give you water because they need to monitor your stitches, your wounds, right? They've like reattached your esophagus to your intestine, and your stomach is on its own. So it's not like you can drink copious amounts of water to rehydrate. So that too is very, very uncomfortable with the gas feeling. So kind of be aware of that. They'll give you ice chips and they'll just kind of minimize you. So that was frustrating, and literally drives up your anxiety regardless of whatever they have you on, because you feel helpless. You feel like dehydration, like real thirst, like in a first world country, and you feel thirst or dehydrated. If you've never experienced that, it's very, very uncomfortable. So now 2 week liquid diet in terms of the healing process, and I guess I said this briefly. This is the part where it's frustrating. These guys are doing, now they're doing 20 surgeries a week, but they've been doing this. I mean, weight loss surgery has been something that's been going on for years. And I could have gone to the classes, or I could have watched more YouTube videos like Dr. Vong. He's fantastic in terms of information and stuff like that. But they kind of tell you to do something, but they're not telling you why you're doing something. And I'm that kind of guy that kind of needs to know why, and I need to respect it. Like, coming out of the surgery, when they've like rewired your system, you have no appetite. So it's got to be liquids anyway. And liquids is pretty much just to make sure that you're hydrated and that everything's working without kind of leaking and stuff like that. My appetite did, but then again, that crunchiness, and I guess it's psychological, came back in like the first week that I was home. So sorry, I'm going back and forth. So the hospital keeps you, after your surgery and everything is successful, for monitoring for 2 days, for 48 hours. So I could have been there till Monday, and they have you bring in your personal belongings. Really, just bring minimal stuff. You're going to be on so many opioids and stuff like that. You're not going to want to read. They tell you not to bring personal belongings like laptops and stuff like that, just your cell phone. this and that, and a change of clothes. I was in the nurse gown the entire time. The only time I changed my clothes was to go home. When you're traveling to the hospital, just bring minimal stuff. House slippers, phone charger, phone. That's pretty much it. I brought a backpack, and it was just kind of like it was much. Half the stuff in the backpack I didn't need, and I thought I was packing light, but I guess I'm not a light packer. Um, I ended up having a salad in the first week. So after the first day, I was okay. I was walking around. I was active. They were really happy with my progress and stuff like that. Um, they asked me if I was okay to be discharged. So I was, yeah, I wanted to get out of there. I was anxious, not anxious, but like, cabin fever. It was funny. I was in a beautiful, so I have sleep apnea. I'm sorry, and I'm going back and forth. But when you have sleep apnea, um, they're like, bring your CPAP machine. But your CPAP machine puts particulates in the air. Again, respiratory issues, right? So with the person with the CPAP machine, and this is golden, um, right, you automatically get upgraded to a private room, because you can't coexist with somebody if you have a CPAP machine, because if, let's say, um, I guess your COVID is dormant or something like that, you put the other person at risk. So, and that was the other thing too. They'd called me and asked me, and I've got great insurance at work, if I wanted to utilize my insurance to upgrade my room. I'm not trying to watch TV in my room or HBO, whatever the case might be. I could go home and watch those things. Um, I'm very social. Like I've like, traveled through hostels and stuff like that. There's nothing like I need to be private about. So I'm like, no, I'm gonna save the money and just go into, a co-ed room or whatever the case may be, or a shared accommodation, and that's it. Save the private room for somebody who has anxiety, whatever the case may be. But I ended up getting a private room anyways. The reason why I'm bringing this up, is because my private room was like overlooking a McDonald's drive-through. I don't know if anybody's familiar with like the city of Toronto. Um, yeah, but as I'm overlooking a McDonald's drive-through and a Tim Hortons. So, and then like the city skyline. And if I edit this video later, I might post some pics, because I took some pictures and stuff for my friends to be like, oh, this is my view from my private room, blah, 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 blah. I'm just watching people kind of go through McDonald's, and I'm hearing like the stories, like people will walk out of surgery and crave McDonald's. I mean, kudos to those people, because I don't know, how you're able to eat or digest anything, how you have an appetite. When they pull that respirator out of your mouth, your throat is sore. It's almost like you've been choked. I could crack some dark jokes, like, some girls love that stuff, whatever the case may be, but your throat, I shouldn't say that, I should try to keep this appropriate, is sore for like 2 days. You're just like, what is that from? What is that from? And I was like trying to figure out, and I was like, it's the respirator. They had the respirator there, and my throat just kind of got inflamed, and it's just kind of sore, and it's just like a choking feeling. But I mean, they give you enough painkillers and stuff like that where everything is kind of numb, and you can't really tell where pain's coming from or what's going on, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, 24 hours out of the hospital, I'm home. Discharged Sunday, $20 for gas. I'm kind of ranting and kind of carrying on. Liquid diet. First week into the liquid diet, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a salad, something super healthy. So I walk into Subway, and I asked them to make me a chopped tuna salad, and I was like, just chop it super fine, and I should be okay. This is why I was like, information going back to, not so much as to do something, but why you're doing something is important. Raw vegetables is not something, when they manipulate your system becomes like, puts up a wall that says, hey, you slapped me in the face. This is not something that I'm accustomed to, and now I'm going to be on guard. And anything that we used to trust you, and now the trust is gone, and until we can trust you again, you're going to pay the price. And I wish somebody explained that to me. So I had this chopped salad, and people were like, "Oh, certain tolerances and certain things," and I figured I'm going to share that with you now. It wasn't like the salad was spicy. I did a blend. I was like, okay, mustard and ranch dressing. I put a few banana peppers, but anybody who's had banana peppers know they're sweet, not hot. That's it. And I wasn't like, okay, you know what? I've had a tolerance to spicy food because I grew up on spicy food, so it was just kind of like business as usual when I had, and I'll talk about that in my puree stage, spicy puree, because I was like, okay, you got to do things that are super exciting. So the girlfriend made me like exciting purees that had kind of spice, like, curried broccoli puree, or sorry, curried cauliflower puree, or she did like a spicy eggplant puree. And it was just kind of like I called it my infancy stage because it was like I felt like I was back on baby foods, but it was at least like it was tasty baby food. But when I had the salad, I paid the price. It was like a Mexican summer. Um, Again, that's derogatory. I shouldn't say things like that. But I was in the bathroom for like 3 days. And I know the cause of that was because of the salad. So it's just kind of like, okay, you know what? I need to stop running experiments on myself, and I need to listen to my medical team. And if they say, not to do this or to do this a certain way, I need to trust that they're telling me that for a reason. And if your medical team is telling you a particular diet, you need to commit to it without really running experiments. Because they said after 3 months, I can have salads again. Because I'm okay with salads. I'm not a steak and potatoes kind of guy. I like it, don't get me wrong. I love my steak and potatoes, but at the same time too, I don't discriminate against salads. Like, there's nothing wrong with a good salad with all the accoutrement and exciting things inside of it, but just not now until my stomach. And some people say name your sleeve or name your pouch. I had a gastric bypass, so I have a pouch. I didn't have the banana slice, the sleeve, right? I haven't named my pouch yet, but I just know in time, that's going to be something that I can enjoy. And now, on the topic of food, my taste buds have changed. Luckily, I can still enjoy spice, which is important to me because culturally, spice is like a staple in our diet and our food. And I enjoy spicy food, not too hot, but just something with character. But what kind of caught me off guard was, not to say that I was a sweet guy, but I really love bitter things. So like salty stuff, and salt, you gotta watch that kind of stuff. They want you to watch your sodium, they want you to watch your sugar. Not that I cared for sugar before or anything like that, or just like needed a chocolate bar, but like the real salty things is what kind of caught me. So it was never like, even socially and drinking and stuff like that, a Caesar guy, for example. Like I could like they're disgusting to me. But I find myself in the grocery store buying vegetable juice and celery salt and hot sauce. And I'm just kind of like, because my stomach's like, yeah, you would like, during my liquid stage, I'm like, a V8 would be absolutely amazing right now. You're getting your vegetables. Maybe it's the vegetable craving that I just like subconsciously found a way to puree or to have as a liquid. So I was like, at first, these things are on sale and stuff like that. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to fill my fridge with V8 and vegetable juice and all that other stuff to find out that it's just like, it was just the glass that I was craving and I'm going to throw it out. I'm going to chill and just get the one. And if I go through it quickly, then I will get another one. So that's how my kind of taste buds changed. So, like I said, UHN, absolutely fantastic, in terms of the support, in terms of the aftercare, in terms of the bedside manner. So they have something where they book you your 1 month appointment after surgery. So my surgery was on the 8th. My 1 month appointment will be on the 9th, which is tomorrow at 3:30. But instead of me having to go to the hospital, they do everything via video conferencing and wireless meetings. So I have that all scheduled for tomorrow. They also have an app that they have you download, but you have to be invited to the app. It's not like you can go into your I'm an Android guy, into your Google store or your Apple store and just automatically download it. They have to send it to you and then you download it. It's like a UHN app. And then there's all kinds of tools in that. I'll do like questionnaires daily. Are you dehydrated? Are you consuming your water? How are your wounds healing? You know what I mean? Are you having daily bowel movements? Do you have diarrhea? Do you show signs of dehydration? Are you taking your multivitamins? Are you taking your protein shakes? All these things are important. The protein's important because your energy levels are all over the place. I used to be a guy that used to be able to function on like 4 hours of sleep with the sleep apnea. It's just like you adapt because you wake up and you don't want to die in your sleep, whatever the case might be. And after the surgery, I was sleeping like 10-hour days, 12-hour days. I was like, what the fuck? And still feeling tired like a cat. And on that whole cat thing, it's kind of funny, right? Because now we're in the stage 3 and everybody's got cabin fever and stuff like that. Everybody wants to be social, and it's just kind of like you don't realize how much food's involved or drinks are involved in being social until you've had to isolate or be away from somebody for an extended period of times. And then I got my boys saying like, hey, let's go for drinks or let's go for appetizers. I got the girlfriend saying, hey, let's go to dinner, let's do this, let's do that. And it's just kind of like, I'm drinking this, or I can't for a period of time. And then that kind of comes with the explanation. I'm happy. That's pretty much where I'm at. Okay, so final things that you probably want to know, right? Which has been absolutely crazy. Is it okay to cheat? I'm gonna say no. If you have to cheat, but at the remaining time too, remember you're only cheating yourself. And remember the end game is for you. The psychological things that you've taken for granted, like I said, the crunchingness, will affect you, or at least it's affected me. So these are the things that you kind of take away. What I love is how our Medicare system has found ways to adapt, obviously, to the landscape with COVID, and that the doctors are taking on more work to make sure that everybody's kind of caught up and they're back to normal. So based on that schedule that they kind of told me about, maybe by the end of the year they'll take care of their backlog and things will be back to normal. I love the precautions that they put in place to protect other people at 30 days. So like 10 years ago, whatever the case may be, I bought a Biggest Loser scale from Sears. I don't even know if Sears is still a thing. Sears no longer exists. And the big, it's not a traditional scale. Biggest Loser scale kind of goes up, but it's not a medical scale. So its ceiling, or it caps out at 400 pounds. So if you're watching this kind of internationally, a pound, a kilo is 2.2 pounds, or if you're in Europe, 14 pounds is 1 stone. So this way you're not opening tabs, you're trying to figure out what is. So yeah, 400 pounds. So I was kind of grazing the area about 400 pounds. I would say going into my surgery on August 8th, I would probably say I was about 401 or 402, but there's no way to know for sure because my scale had maxed out, right? So at the maxed out, all it could say was air. But when I was at the Wharton weight loss clinic and I downloaded my Fitness Pal and stuff like that, my last weigh-in was 406. So I'm going to say about 405, or let's even just say 406. Currently, I did my weigh-in maybe 4 hours prior to recording this video, and my weight now is 362 pounds, right? So I'll do the conversion for you guys. Pounds to kilos. Sorry, just bear with me. I got notes. You know, people make notes and you're like, why are you making notes? But yeah, you'd be surprised. 362, 164 kilos. And if I change that to stones, 25.8. So call that 26 stones. Currently in 30 days. So I lost about 44 pounds in the 1 month. Mind you, if you do the math, I did 3 weeks of liquids prior to the surgery, then 2 weeks of liquids after, so 5 weeks of liquids. I was pretty hangry, even though I didn't really have an appetite. Again, that was like the psychological, and then 2 weeks of pure whey. I'm in a weird spot right now because people were like, oh, you'll stall this and that. I know it's only 1 month, but to see yourself just kind of lose, and I know initially it's going to be a lot of water weight and stuff like that. Like, I mean, I've been isolating and just kind of getting fat, and no one was really monitoring me prior to the surgery. I didn't know when my surgery was. So definitely a lot of water weight and stuff. 40 pounds in 1 month. It's kind of slowed down now. So I mean, my last weigh-in was on the 1st, and on the 1st I was 365. But I mean, I'm still good in the sense that at 2 pounds a week, if I go 2 pounds a week over 52 weeks, that's still going to be an additional 100 pounds. So 150 pounds, 2 to 3 pounds, or 150 pounds, 100 to 150 pounds in a year. I'm happy. I mean, when you grow up big, you're happy being big. So if I'm at, like, you know, 220, I'm 6'1", 6'1.5", 230. I still feel comfortable, like I can carry myself and blah 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 blah. Yeah, but I mean, only time will tell. But now my appetite's coming back. I'm past the puree stage. I'm in the introducing the soft food stage, and I'm just, you know what I mean? I've just watched so many horror stories where people are like, you will gain the weight back or there'll be zero loss, because at the end of the day, this is a tool. And they're absolutely right. It's definitely a tool, and it's the you know, it's the psychological that kind of gets you afterwards. So I'm over the hump. That's where I'm at on my war. I've had the surgery. It's been a month. The month kind of goes by quickly. It's day to day. Meal prep will be your best friend. You will hate protein. And if you're a coffee drinker, they say, I mean, if you're a coffee drinker, they tell you to have coffee. For me, I've just been kind of, if my body's tired, I let it sleep. And when I have the energy, and I have gotten the energy bursts, I just kind of go with it. So I just kind of ride the wave, unless I gotta, you know, push through something, or push through a work day, or visiting a friend, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, that's COVID in Canada. That's how COVID affected my surgery. I've had my surgery, praise God for that. Super successful, as they said. No leaking. I didn't feel any leaking. I didn't feel any kind of nausea. There was no need for the painkillers or they give you laxatives, because I tell you, your system is just kind of like, hey, you slap me in the face, that's it, the trust is gone. So you can't poop or anything like that. But I only did 5 days of laxatives. And then my thought process is, what are you really gonna poop out on a liquid diet? Like, what's really your body metabolizing or breaking down, right? But everything was regular for me. I can't complain. I do have questions, but if you have questions, I mean, we all have questions. My whole thing is energy drinks because, I mean, my energy levels are off, and people are like, it's going to be off, and you're going to adjust. And I don't know if that's part of ketosis, as they say. I don't understand the science, or just your body adjusting to, you know what I mean? You carrying the mass, but you not putting in the fuel or the energy. Hence why they're like, you need protein, you need protein, you need protein, you need vitamins, and blah, 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 blah. But I'm just kind of like, okay, it's not so much as coffee, but I'm like, if I have a sugar-free energy drink, it's a sugar-free drink, energy drink, i.e. like a Monster, um, or like a half can of Red Bull. Is that carbonated? And will that stretch my pouch? So that's where I'm at in terms of the psychology. You know what I mean? I do not, now that my appetite's back, because they said, okay, again, I'm back and forth, and I apologize. Your pouch will only be able to hold 3 ounces of food, like pretty much a handful of food. And I feel like my pouch can hold like 5 ounces. So I'm like, did I do the surgery right? And then, knock on wood, I haven't had any kind of dumping. But at the same time, too, I'm like, I do not want to experience that or that bloating. Like, I felt the full feeling, because I tried to have, I guess, a more gamey meat. I went to like a West Indian place and had like oxtail, and I thought, okay, it's tender, you know, I should be okay. And that kind of fucked me up. My body definitely knew something was there, and I was just kind of like, yeah. But it wasn't like, that took some time. It takes about 30 minutes. You just got to just kind of sit, you know. It's almost like if you were choking on a slice of apple or something like that. You almost like a snake have to wait for it to kind of pass down, because there's no regurgitating it. Yeah, but like no dumping. But then again, I haven't had any kind of real sweets. I'm just trying to think, right? Because it's been a month and I'm not doing week to week videos. So as the information comes to me, I'm trying to give you a month worth of information. Technically 8 weeks if you take in the slim time stage, but or 7 weeks. I did end up picking up Werther's Originals mints because, yeah, my taste buds are off. But that's it for now. Nothing else comes to mind. If you haven't liked, like, subscribe, support. Monetization, obviously, and these things are completely different now. I need like 1,000 subscribers for them to acknowledge me, and I gotta somehow figure out how to pay for plastic surgery, because those are the next videos now that I'm watching now that I've had my surgery. No, I don't know how the vanity's going. 40 pounds. People said they see it in my face. My clothes fits different, because I don't have my bare skin. I'm cold. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, I'm always here to answer. This is Charlie Black signing off. Have a great day.